Dr. Marcia here, and let's talk. Do you have wrist pain when you do push-ups, planks, anything on your hands and knees? Can't quite just stay in that position, whether we're talking about working out, yoga, whatever it is. You're down here and it hurts. What can be done about it? Why is this happening? Couple of things. Number one, it could just be positioning. So we'll address all these things, but let me just lay it out. So number one, it could be positioning. Number two, it could be hand strength. Number three, it could be forearm strength. Number four, it could be forearm and wrist flexibility. So how can you tackle all these areas? Let's work through it. So number one, positioning. When you're in your hands and knees position or push up, you don't just slap your fingers down and then sink into it. Spread your fingers as much as you can and grip down and squeeze the floor. So the direction you're squeezing is that way. So that if I took my pinky or like a sheet of paper, I would be able to fit in that space between my pointer finger and my thumb finger. So that's how you know that the hands are active and pushing away. You also want to make sure that your scaps are engaged and that muscle, that serratus, is helping you push away from the ground. So that's positioning. Hand strength is maybe you don't have the strength to squeeze and grip against the ground. I have a couple videos for finger strength exercises, but directly related to this position, you can work on finger tenting, which is basically working on squeezing, gripping the ground, and bearing weight. You can lean back if you don't have it. That might be too much. But if you're ready for weight over the fingers, then do weight over the fingers and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. Keep in mind, you're not going to look exactly like my fingers. I am hypermobile, loosey goosey. So we're all going to look different doing this. Anyways, moving on. Number three would be forearm strength. How do you get your forearm stronger? Your wrist moves because of the muscles that connect all the way here. So, unrelated, you might also have some tightness, tenderness here, elbow tendonitis, and you might think, that's my elbow, that's up here. Well, those muscles come down here and move your wrist. So, what direction does your wrist move in? You have wrist extension, wrist flexion, radial deviation. There's also ulnar deviation, but you don't really work that direction out. Then you have supination, pronation. So how do you work that out? You can do that. If you have trouble just doing this, just do that. But if you're ready to add some weight, you can grab dumbbells and do resisted wrist extension. You might see reverse curls, wrist flexion. You can do radial deviation. And then if you're using a dumbbell for pronation and supination, you want to grab the end so that the weight is kind of falling down against gravity. You have to bring it back up. So those are directions with a free weight. If you have kettlebells that are light enough for you, go for it. Or if you have a ball, you want to grip the ball and do it, even better, because then you'll work your hand at the same time. If you have a band, you can get the same thing done. Just keep in mind, and same idea for a cable or a long band, the resistance has to be in the right direction. So if we're doing wrist extension, we need the resistance down this way. If we're doing wrist flexion, we need still the resistance down if my hand's in this position. Catch my drift? The radial deviation, it's still down. Pronation and supination gets tricky with a band, but the resistance will be that way. So hopefully that makes sense. The last issue would be flexibility. So how do you get more flexibility in your wrist? Stretch it. So you can do it sitting. So the same directions, that wrist extension and the wrist flexion. Or you can do it on hands and knees. So you could come here, bring the fingers towards you, palm up, and that'll be stretching the wrist extensors. You can do one at a time, two at a time. You can deepen the stretch and kneel back. And same idea for the wrist flexors, fingers pointing to you, but this time the palm is down And now you're stretching this side. Again, you can do one at a time, two at a time. If you've got pretty good, okay positioning there, lean back, deepen the stretch. So these are things to work on. These are things that'll help you decrease that pain, hopefully, over time. However, keep in mind, over time means that, okay, if you do this tomorrow, the next day you might still have pain with your push-ups and your planks and your yoga poses. So what can you do? I would recommend trying to do hands on fist and modify wherever you can. Or let's say you have a chair or a block. To get into the same position that you need, come down to elbows. If you need to be hands and knees and a little higher. Or just do planks on your elbow. That is while you're working on the positioning, while you're working on the hand strength, while you're working on the forearm strength, while you're working on the wrist flexibility. You can do those things. So hopefully that helps. Drop any questions, comments, concerns down below. Hit that thumbs up button. How do I know you like this video if you don't hit thumbs up? Always, as always, please subscribe, hit the bell. Either way, if you don't hit the bell, you can look for more videos every Saturday. That's all. Toodles.